Welcome back to the Shovel of Hope 90% guide. And today we're covering the Tower of Fate. So at the very beginning of this run, there's actually so much mana, we can't spam daggers enough to get rid of it all. Appreciate that while you can though, because at the end of the stage we're actually going to be kind of desperate for mana. There's going to be a number of different strats covered here, just a couple of them, but more specifically you're going to be looking at your mana count throughout the latter half of the level. In some cases, however, I will be showing off some easier things that you can do. I understand that everyone learning from this guide isn't ready for the most difficult strats. This guide is here to help people who are looking to play this game at any level, so I will be covering a few more of the more accessible and friendlier strats to the beginning runners. One such example is actually at the end of this room, where there's a couple of green duck knights, and dropping down here will cost you a small global cycle in the next room here with this potlet. But it's much easier to deal with the green armored duck knights by dropping down into that pit. Not to mention there are strats like the one coming up in the next room that if you should screw them up, they'll cost you more time than they'll actually save you. So instead, in this first playthrough, you'll see a lot of me doing the more traditional strats that I know have worked for me since forever. If you are ready to be far more aggressive, then I highly recommend that you watch the second playthrough of this video, where it shows off basically an exact mana count at the end of the stage. Not to mention, in this first playthrough, you're going to see me taking care of Black Knight in the exact same way that was done in the Plains. The difference here being that Black Knight has a much smaller window of opportunity. He, in fact, will basically immediately go into a far more difficult phase of the fight if you ever let him out of the Sunlock. But you see once the fight begins that so long as you have your Shovel Blade out and attacking in his sprite as he's recovering, he won't go into the flight phase. This rhythm is far more difficult to keep up with, and if you, again, allow him any breathing room whatsoever, he'll escape. However, if you feel so comfortable with this fight that you're looking for something a little more aggressive, again, I encourage that you watch the second portion of the video. We will be covering how to use the gear and charge slashes on this fight. Big shout out to applesauc for giving me the motivation to include these more difficult strats finally. So here's your quick highlight reel of tips throughout the level. Make sure that you do a pretty high jump so the char flounder doesn't spawn in your way. Dagger as soon as you hit the books, and make sure that Shovel Knight's feet are walking off before you jump, so that when you pogo off this char flounder, you actually don't get hit by it. This rat's movement is random, so try to swing at it, but if you don't hit it because it moves too high, don't get flustered. Drop a gear, avoid the rat, wait for the gear to run off before you jump so that you have the height you need to reach the second floor, and then dagger to reach the ladder. Your relic swapping abilities will be tested as you dagger, dagger, then switch to knuckles, knuckle through twice, and then immediately switch to dagger. I suggest you be comfortable with matching your left-right relic swaps or having the weapons bound. Same deal in this room. You want to switch from dagger to knuckles, knuckle through all the blocks, and then before you fall off, switch to dagger across the gap. In this portion of the Crusher section, once it starts to move up, you only need to dagger twice to get across the whole thing safely. Don't waste your mana, as you will need it for the rest of the stage. There's a carrot in this dirt pile if you need it for a quick health pickup, and just so you know, this is a guaranteed setup for these green duck knights. If you drop down while the Crusher section is also going down, both of the duck knights will actually try to jump over and stab onto you. And that is absolutely guaranteed. It has never been another way. So long as you do it just like that, those duck knights will jump over you just like that. However, if you want to catch the global cycle in the next room, then you'll want to actually jump over this pit, which will save you just enough time. However, this will cause the duck knights to be a little bit more annoyingly in the way. Just make sure that you react accordingly, and you should be able to get, again, a very similar setup to this. Now, jumping off the sand block in the next room without the use of dagger to make it up to the second floor is actually very difficult. It is doable, but it's not easy, so just make sure you don't fall down. Then you want to pogo off of either of these two enemies. From the apex of the height off of that pogo, you want to do 3 daggers to get across the room. And this is so that when you get to the end of the room, you can keep holding pogo, and you'll actually pogo off these dirt blocks without having to jump again. However, without slowing down much at all, if you want to conserve your mana, then you'll actually run up to these two enemies and do a quick charge slash to kill both of them in one swing, which will net you 2 small jars. This is actually critical to be able to follow the mana route for the rest of the level. So I began this section with roughly 58 mana, and you'll see that at the end of the stage I only have 1 leftover mana, and that's because I was redoing this section to get you the proper footage. Try to hit both of the dirt blocks in the next pillar with your knuckle, which will automatically give you the mana from both of the dirt blocks. My mana's starting to get low, there's a nice pickup in the next room. There is some food right there, however, if you want this setup, you're going to have to not stop moving in order to be able to get past the Jawa. As soon as you see Shovel Knight's feet walking off the ledge, mash 3 daggers at it, and you want to mash really hard just to make sure you don't lose any height. The Jawa is not going to bother you if you had started your daggers at the right spot. However, if you are not mashing hard enough, you'll actually bonk off that last wall and you'll fall really far behind. And now you'll see that I'll barely have any mana left whatsoever to be able to do this quick kill. But before we show off the gear quick kill, let's look at the traditional quick kill. There's a small little what looks like a dragon head in the background that I use as a visual cue. Wait to jump right as you approach it, so right here, and then you're doing just a light jump. You want to try and swing your shovel at Black Knight's forehead. That is the best advice I can give for keeping up this juggle. So you're landing, jumping immediately to cancel the landing recovery, and then swinging again at Black Knight's forehead, landing, jumping, waiting until you're just about at Black Knight's forehead, and you just repeat this process again and again. It's not easy to keep up, and should you ever let him go, he'll grow wings and start flying across the stage. And you can follow him to the sides. There's even some manipulation so that he stays low to the ground, and you can use charge slashes to kill him, but this is the kill that you should ultimately be trying to go for when you're first learning how to beat this game. But let's say you've mastered it and you want something a little bit more difficult. So at the start of the fight, you're mashing to get a gear out and you're jumping on it as quickly as possible. As soon as you land on the gear, you're jumping off and starting the stun lock once again. Depending on how fast you are, somewhere between the 3rd and 4th hit, the gear will collide with Black Knight at the same time you hit him. That'll do 1.5 hearts damage to him, but continue juggling. It is more important to focus on the amount of hits you're doing to him. As you do the 10th swing on Black Knight, you'll actually hold it to start doing charge slashes on him. This is because you've pushed him to a point where he's lost enough HP that he won't desperately be trying to sprout wings. You still need to be paying extremely close attention to make sure you can keep up this stun lock. Try to get as close to him as you can after you release your charge slash before you do your swing, which you're then holding to start another charge slash. So here's your gear quick kill at full speed. Fire, activate, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Slash, swing, slash. If you manage to pull this off in a run, I would rejoice, honestly. It didn't take me that long to be able to execute this kill, but going for something this risky, this late in the game, is not something that I would be encouraging brand new runners to get on. That said, if that's something that you want to start applying to your runs right away, the sooner you get it under your belt, the better. So on the next guide, we'll be covering the Tower of Fate Ascent, which will include Boss Rush. See you next time. Thanks for watching.